Hey everyone, welcome to this podcast called Ken Reads, where I can read out your letter that you've shared with me in the hopes that I can better help you understand what the F just happened between you and the last partner you were dating, whether it was in a relationship or a situationship. I look at these experiences from the lens of attachment theory. I don't just come up with thought terminating cliches like, they're just not that into you, or if they wanted to, they would. While some of those phrases might have their benefit in other dynamics, I try and look at this from the lens of, is there perhaps an insecure attachment issue that's at play in these particular dynamics? And though I am an Australian counsellor, I am not someone who is going to be responding to these letters as if I was with a client. I'm here to provide validation, yes, but I can't provide any diagnoses on these. So even if, a lot of people might understandably hear this and be like, well, that sounds like a narcissist. At best, I'll probably say, sounds a bit narky. I probably won't go any further than that out of respect to my ethical boundaries in regards to what I can and can't do. If you find this of benefit to you, fantastic. That's what I want. And if you want to submit your letter, you're very welcome to, once there is obviously availability per month. And I'll happily read out and share my own 2 cents as to what I think has gone on in your dating experience to offer you a sense of validation for what you've been through, and also to give other people listening a chance to feel like maybe this relates to what they've also experienced as part of collective healing. So with that all out of the way, let's dive in to the latest letter. Our next letter comes from Charlie. Charlie writes, "Hello, Ken. My name is Charlie, and first off, let me start by saying how appreciative I am of your content and for all you do to contribute to further help understand attachment styles. You're very welcome, Charlie." Charlie writes, "I was blindsided by my fiance in September, breaking up with me with little to no answers, but thanks to the Instagram algorithm, it led me to your page. This is where I went down a rabbit hole of research and came to believe that my ex is a fearful avoidant. Your page also helped me discover that I have some dismissive avoidant tendencies that I'm trying to become more self-aware of and work on." What? Say what? You have a dismissive avoidant attachment style? What is this? Rise of the dismissive avoidance? What? Where have you been? This is like a platypus just entered the chat. How rare. What an exciting experience to have a monotremes finally join us in the zoo. In all seriousness, though, welcome, Charlie. Let's get into hearing what's going on. All right. My ex-fiance, who I'm going to call Emma. I'm calling them Emma, by the way. Emma, I met in college in 2018, but we were only friends hanging out a couple of times at college parties. A year later, I graduated college and was in the process of moving 3 hours away to a different state for my career, and she reached out to me to reconnect. Once I moved states to start my career, we started a situationship, talking every day and hanging out when I would return home to visit the family and friends. Now, about a year of a situationship during COVID times, Emma was the one who wanted English. Emma was the one who wanted to make us official. Now, around this time, Emma was accepted into a 2.5 year medical program that would mean we would be in a long distance relationship until she completed her medical program. I was hesitant at first due to a previous long distance relationship in my first year of college, which I'd struggled with. But ultimately, I made it official with Emma. Our 2.5 year long distance relationship was the complete opposite of my last one. It was easy. We FaceTime every day. She made the 4 hour drive all the time to visit me and vice versa. The sex was amazing, especially when we were together. Well, obviously. We met one another's families, sexting a couple of times a week to keep it interesting, and eventually starting to talk about what the future was going to hold for us. Emily told me that she wanted to move to the state I was living when she got done with school because she saw her future with me, and I agreed that I wanted the same. Emma eventually told me about her childhood, which I knew was rough due to the fact that she only talks to her mum, her sister, and her grandma, and has zero contact with her dad or brother. Emma told me that when she was growing up, her dad was abusive towards her mum, her and her siblings and cheating on her mum and having different families with multiple women. Ooh, okay, we're going to take a quick pause there. Yeah, Emma's got a history of coming from some pretty adverse childhood experiences. I mean, you know, having an abusive dad and then him terrorizing the kids, cheating on the mum, and having multiple families. That's betrayal upon betrayal. It's like the, multi-patty burger of trauma. It's just like there's so much going on there as well because of one person's influence across an entire family system. So I am very sorry for Emma, and I can understand why she would probably have developed the way that she has and has the relational style that she has. So, anyways, let us continue. Emma's dad and mum divorced when she was around 13 and moved across the country with another woman. Her mum then became an alcoholic that caused Emma and her siblings to go into foster care for 2 years while her mum was in rehab. Okay, yeah, that's pretty serious. I mean, I've talked amongst my team as well when they're available about the significance of having, an alcoholic or an addicted parent. And I think this is like the classic sort of environment that we would see someone with a fearful avoidant attachment style brewing in. So, yeah, this is making a lot of sense to me. Um, and also, she's obviously probably been put into a bit of a caretaker role. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Emma is the kind of girl who probably struggles a lot with boundaries and may tend to, you know, overcommit to people who aren't that great for her, meaning that she probably doesn't have good boundaries with people in general. That's my 2 cents on this, potentially. Anyways, Emma, her mum, and her sister eventually moved into an apartment where Emma helped her mum out financially. But yeah, this is what I was thinking about. Was helping her mum out financially with paying for the apartment and some other bills. Yikes. I can understand why that probably happened, but that's where things can become quite sticky. So I worry that poor Emma probably feels quite like she has to save her family potentially. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some potential codependency and poor boundary setting. Emma graduated and moved in with me and my roommate in January of 2023 until we could find our own place to live. Emma was quickly hired and started her career. About 6 months later, a house that we both loved came on the market at a price we couldn't pass up, ended up buying the house together. Emma and I were both excited as we both said this house was perfect and even big enough to raise our kids. Emma was having some difficulty setting in as she felt that my life was already established where I was, and she couldn't make any of her own friends at work and would cry to me about her trouble making friends. Emma doesn't really have any close childhood friends that she still talks to, and her only real friends was a girl that she met while in medical school. Whereas I still have a couple of close friends that I grew up with, people who are college friends and friends I made at my job. I have two female friends, Nikki and Kelly, that I work with that met and became friends with Emma while we were long distance and were excited when she moved in with me so that they could become better friends and have girl days. I reminded Emma that Nikki and Kelly were her friends and wanted to have her own friendship with her. Her response to me was, Nikki and Kelly were your friends first, and they aren't actually my friends, which I thought was weird. I mean, I kind of get it. Like, I mean, I understand you're trying to be generous and be like, you can share my friends, but I can understand maybe there's some resistance for her because it's like, look, I don't feel like blending with your friends in that particular way. I mean, I understand that okay, when you're in a relationship, you obviously are going to have some degrees of blending with your friends, hopefully, because you want everyone to get along in their own respective worlds. But I guess the thing that's striking to me about this is it does seem like there's a resistance for Emma to want to work towards her happiness. Like to me, I'm already getting the vibe that she must feel like she's miserable and she's only meant for misery. Like to me, it sort of feels as though she probably is in a bit of a black hole that's, been likely very largely contributed to by her family of origin. And she doesn't believe that she's worthy of much good stuff because, usually when people are, for instance, okay, if people move to remote parts of the world with a lover, and let's just say one of the partners has a reasonable group of friends, the partner who's moved to this remote part of the world probably is at a point where they're like, no, actually, I kind of need to interact with some friends and I'll take yours. I kind of just need to build up my friendship circle. So I think what I'm hearing here is like, it's not to say her feelings are wrong, but I suppose it does make me curious and think she's not really doing much for her situation. She mentions that she's lonely and she doesn't have, many friends, but it's kind of like she's not really helping herself too. So, yeah, interesting vibe. I wonder if this is something that we see continue across the course of the letter, is this feeling of like victimhood and being powerless to make much change. Anyway, as time went on, Emma made some girlfriends at work that quickly became her two best friends. Okay. And it made me happy to see this change. These friends lived almost an hour away from our home, so she would either go out after work for dinner with them or take a day trip to hang out with them if I was working. Things like that felt like they were all starting to fall into place. And as Emma was making friends, we had our home, we were learning to live with one another, and managing the two of us working shift work where there were days where we wouldn't see each other at all. I can see how if there were two avoidant attachers, this might actually work incredibly well. I've had clients who are, you know, couples who have been in the field of, you know, the medical field, I mean, and it's been interesting to listen how they've navigated that life. But anyways, let's continue. In January of 2024, I decided this would be the year I bought a ring and proposed to Emma. Emma brought it up a few times since we moved in together about wanting to take the next step and be engaged. I asked Emma out of curiosity what kind of ring she would want, and after she told me some of her preferences, I never brought it up again. A few months later, I brought her a ring and booked us a surprise vacation to Charleston where I was going to propose. I told her that we were going on a vacation in August so she could take off so she could take time off, but everything else would be a surprise. Emma's sister knew about the ring, as I had sent her a few before I purchased one to get her approval, but I later took her mum and her sister out to dinner to tell them about my plans and ask for her mum's blessing. Her mum her mum was so excited for us and even made a statement that she knew from the day I met her for the first time we would get married. Emma also made many remarks to me about this year about really wanting a ring and being asked and also asked our friend Nikki a couple of times if I'd gone to her yet to ask for help with going ring shopping. She even straight up asked me 2 months before our trip what my timeline was for us to be engaged, to which I told her next year because all the money we spent on the house, and she said, okay, that is fair. Interesting. So things are escalating. And so far, I mean, outside of that one comment regarding, well, Nikki and so are your friends, I don't necessarily feel like it. I mean, and apart from her background, nothing is like raging red hot trauma land. Sorry, well, there's lots of trauma. Nothing is like raging red flag sort of territory yet in terms of her behavior, so to speak. Definitely the background is a bit sus without any support or help through that. But of course, we also shouldn't judge a background in its exclusivity, and that just because someone's had a diverse background doesn't mean they're not necessarily capable of making a relationship work on the basis that if they've been through therapy, they're a good character, they're able to self-reflect, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, so far nothing is jumping out of the bush at me except for obviously the background of Emma. But even then, it's like, it's not like anything really scary. Anyways, let's keep going. Now, like I'd said, we'd spent a lot of money due to home upgrades and repairs on the home. Plus, we decided to put in an extra $30,000 for the patio around our pool. About $35,000 of everything came from Emma. On top of that, Emma's mum started having medical problems that doctors couldn't diagnose. Her mum had a few trips to the emergency room as well as doctor's appointments undergoing tests. Emma broke down crying to me a couple of times that she thinks something serious is wrong with her mum and was scared. Now, due to all this stress on top of both of us working shift work schedules, we began to have these minor arguments more often. We never argued over finances, infidelity, or about concerns of unhappiness in our relationship. As we got closer to our vacation in August, Emma started spending more time with her friends and taking more day trips to hang out with them or going out with them after work for dinner. This started to bother me because because she would drive home late at night, and because she always talked about being tired all the time, it made me nervous. I never confronted her about my concern because I didn't want her to take it the wrong way and think I had a problem with her hanging out with her friends. Oh dear. So this is where things are starting to take a bit of a stage left. Uh, it seems to me like for you, Charlie, it seems like you're sensing that something has shifted here and things are not quite, let's just say, consistent with how they had been. I mean, I understand obviously with regards to the mum being in hospital and also going through that pretty scary situation that might cause her to spend more time, looking for emotional support. But something about this says to me it's more than just seeking support for what's going on with her mum. It sounds to me like she's actively starting to pull away, and it's obviously unsettled you. This doesn't sound like it's been communicated that she's spending more time with friends. It sounds to me like this is, a bit of a move that's been made. A few days before we left for Charleston, she went on a bachelorette party for her one best friend and her sister, ending up going as well due to a late. Sorry, let me start that sentence again. A few days before we left for Charleston, Emma went to a bachelorette party for her best friend, and her sister ended up going as well due to a late back out from another girl. Okay, so one of the girls pulled out. The day Emma got home from the trip was the day before we left for Charleston. Her sister texted me saying that the engagement and marriage topic came up with their friends, and Emma told everyone that, quote unquote, me and Charlie have some stuff to work on and aren't ready to be engaged. Whoa. Bomb drop. Okay, wow. I bet that would have been a surprise to you because it didn't seem to me like that was something that was raised up until that point. So that's quite a scary thing to hear. This shocked me because Emma never, yeah, exactly. Emma never brought up problems she was having within our relationship to me. I had everything already planned out for our engagement, and Nikki and her husband were even going to be there to take our photos and go out to celebrate after. I took this information as this was Emma accepting this that we wouldn't be engaged until next year because she never made any concerns known to me and she talked so much about wanting for us to be engaged. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh dear. Yeah, that's not good. Okay. We arrived in Charleston and I went ahead and proposed to her. Emma said yes, and I put the ring on her finger and we continued on with our vacation. Okay, so she's literally you put a ring on it and she said yes, but she's also, mentioned that you guys have got quote unquote concerns before even getting engaged. So I don't know how she's managed to reconcile that. In fact, if I just scroll back up and go back to what was written here, yeah, like, did you guys even, and you can email this to me, did you guys even talk with one another, about the comment that was made between her friends about how she's not ready to be engaged? Like, I mean, it seems like you've just gone to Charleston, you put a ring on it, she said yes. I would be concerned. I'd be like, do you want this or not? And also, what are the issues that are preventing us from being engaged? Like, care, what? Please explain, as one of our politicians here would say. Anyways, let's keep going. Uh, the morning before I proposed, however, her mum had called her crying to tell her that the doctor called her and something on one of her texts came back concerning. Okay, so there was a concerning text that came back and she would need a biopsy. Oh. I asked Emma after our engagement dinner if she wanted to post photos on social media, to which she said that she didn't want to yet and wanted to just enjoy the moment and the rest of our vacation. I thought that was understandable as there was no rush. I did bring up what her sister told me about not being ready to be engaged. Okay, good on you. And her response was that she said that all she said was that we have things to work on because we have been arguing more lately. Have you? Over what? I mean, based on this letter, there doesn't seem to be any signs of that. The rest of our vacation felt normal, and Emma was wearing the ring and showing it off. On our last night at dinner, Emma out of the blue asked me if I would ever leave her if Nikki became available. What? Okay, that's a bit of a paranoid fear of abandonment. That's right there. Oh, I think skin in the game is starting to happen, meaning that it seems to me like Emma is starting to freak out. And that line, would you ever leave me if Nick became available? That's really got that fear of abandonment, fear of betrayal laced in with that too. She's definitely scared of potential rejection and she's sussing out for it as well too. So I was thrown off guard by this question as Nikki and her husband were our closest friends, there for our engagement, and I just asked her to marry me. So, no, I didn't want to spend the rest of my life other than with Emma. The day we got home from vacation, everything felt off and distant. Oh dear, she's pulled away. We had another stupid argument while at the airport because I finally wanted to post on social media, but I wanted to post something as well, to which she said she didn't want to yet. Now, when we got home, she still didn't post anything, which I thought now was odd considering we were home from vacation. So I went ahead and posted on my social media. A couple of days later, we both went back to work and she went out after work with her friends for dinner multiple times that week. Oh dear, so she's avoiding you. She even took a day trip to spend the day with her friends on a day that we had off together, to which she didn't wear her ring. I finally said something to her that this was becoming too much for 1 week and I would like her to come home so we could still have dinner and spend time together. Excellent. Her response to me was, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Oh, that's dismissive. And still proceeded to not come home after I told her that I'd already ordered us pizza to have for dinner. This led us to not talking for over a day. Jesus. And when I finally confronted her, when I saw her in person to come to a resolution and make things right, she told me she'd been so unhappy for months and doesn't know what to do. We were supposed to go to a friend's wedding the next week, and she even told me that she's not going to the wedding because she was afraid we would have another argument and she would be left there by herself. Right. Okay. Right. So she's worried about another argument and that she'd be left by there by herself. So I'm again going back to that idea that I said at the very start of this letter reading about being a bit of a victim and also, being a bit helpless. That's sort of laced into that comment. This idea of like, oh, if we go to a wedding, I'm worried we'll argue again and I'll be left by myself. It's like, how do you fucking know that's going to happen? Also, your arguments with all due respect, like, yeah, getting the silent treatment isn't great, but I mean, it seems to me like your arguments are over, frankly, very seemingly trivial things. It's not exactly like you're having huge differences of value. It's like, Emma's annoyed that, sorry, Emma's seems to be getting angry with you maybe around, the whole lack of sorry, let me start that again. It seems to me like Charlie is understandably upset with the fact that Emma isn't spending enough quality time with her post Charleston. But to me, I sort of think, you know, this doesn't like, yes, it's good that, Charles, you brought this up and have been confronting her. I'm not denying that. But like, I mean, it seems her reaction to you coming to her about this is so over the top. It's like, you've been having these huge tantrums or something when it's just like, no, it sounds to me like you're actually being quite reasonable and being like, wait a minute, something doesn't feel good. Can we talk about it? And you're looking for connection. So, yeah, I think she's really making a mountain out of a molehill, which isn't good. Anyways, let's keep going. A few days went by and I thought everything was starting to return to normal. We had a couple of days off together and we were hanging out. Emma said she had plans to get dinner with Nikki and Kelly, and I asked her if she was going to wear her ring, and she said yes. The day before we were supposed to leave for the wedding, I told her that I really want her to come to the wedding and that I want us to go to relationship counseling together because she has to seek guidance on better communication with me and work through conflict. Yeah, good on you. That's practical. I told her I know that I need better communication and conflict resolution skills, and this would be good for both of us. I have to say that's good, very good accountability on your side, Charlie. This is when Emily said no to relationship counseling because, quote unquote, that is what her parents did. And she's breaking up with me and moving in with one of her best friends. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry, what? So hang on a minute. Are you telling me that you proposed a solution to her for what's going on, and then immediately off the back of that, you got hit with the I'm breaking up with you and moving in with one of my best friends? Fuck her. No, that's not okay. What a dick move. No. I asked for an explanation on why she's throwing away a 5-year relationship, our home together, that she put so much money into, and an engagement. Her response was, she's just been so unhappy for months. We just didn't work. She needed time and space to heal. We aren't the same politically. We've been arguing so much for the last 6 months. Oh my fucking God, the rationalizations. And blamed my poor communication and everything on me, wanting this breakup. Okay, I'm just going to point this out now. I know what self-sabotage feels like. I really get it. I know what it's like not to be avoidantly attached, but I know what it's like to have those avoidant moments where you feel like there's a lack of freedom and you do feel miserable. I know exactly what it feels like. It's terrible. You're like, oh, why isn't that I'm not happy in a thing that is actually good for me? What the fuck is going on? But you know what the problem is? Ourselves. It's in us to find the fucking balance between freedom and control. And so to me, she's the source of her own suffering, not the fucking relationship. Her. So, oh my God. Anyways, this is the sort of stuff where it really helps to have therapeutic intervention, not run away from it when you're trying to heal from this. Anyways. I reminded Emma that her name was on our home and she couldn't just leave and get out of it. And she told me she would split the mortgage with me to the end of the year and to either just quote unquote sell the home or make the payment myself. Okay, wow. So she's really been quite adamant about it. She even went as far as if I'm to say if I sell the house, she didn't even want any of the equity back from the home. Okay, she's desperate. The next two nights after, we broke up and she still slept in our bed with me and we would still kiss. Oh, for fuck's sake, the lack of boundaries and respect to you. This is not fair to you, Charlie. I had no idea what was going on with her and how she could want this after everything we'd accomplished together, and I was trying to convince her not to do this. Within a week, she packed up all of her clothes and belongings and moved out. During this time, it was the weirdest feeling that I can't even explain. The trips she took to the home to pack her stuff, it felt like we were still together with how we talked to each other, but at the same time, it was like I didn't even know who she was anymore. Then every time I saw her, she would take something away from me. For example, it started with stopping sharing her location with me. Then she blocked me from seeing her Instagram stories, making her Google Calendar that we shared private, then her Snapchat location, etc. Yeah, this is fucked. I'm sorry that you're going through this. This is really bad. 2 weeks later, I decided to drive the hour. Sorry, I decided to drive the hour. Drive the hour. I'm assuming that means drive the car. Anyways, I decided to drive the hour. I'm not sure if that's a phrase that I've heard before, but anyways, to bring her flowers, sushi, and a heartfelt letter when she got out of work. This is before I knew about attachment styles still. I gave her everything which she told me that quote unquote stressed her out. And when I told her what I was going, sorry, that when I was going to meet her after work with some stuff. For 30 minutes, I apologized again. Excuse me, I apologized again and took ownership of my flaws again and told me that I shouldn't have driven to her because I disrespected her space. The next day, she texted me saying that she hired movers to come next week for the bedroom furniture she brought for our home. The day the movers came, we had another over hour-long conversation where it still felt like we were together in a relationship, in the sense that there was no anger and hate between us. She then cried on my shoulder as we hugged before she left because her mum's biopsy was that day and she was scared. As she left, we planned to meet again the following week because I still have zero answers and zero closure as to why she's doing this. Good old self-sabotage. The day before we were scheduled to finally have our full discussion, she texted me saying she had to go home to spend the weekend with her mum and couldn't meet me. Bull fucking shit. No, that's just avoiding the conversation altogether. That's a bullshit cop out. I've had so many clients go through that, particularly when it's a guy trying to get closure from a woman who's got a fearful avoidant attachment style. So not okay. Again, in a similar context, obviously, not every fearful avoidantly attached leaning woman would necessarily behave in this way, but this is pretty just such immature behavior. I told her that I understood and to let me know if I could do anything. She was now continuing to text me back, which stopped. Sorry, she was now continuing to text me back, which stopped happening after she broke up with me. She told me she is not okay and she hasn't been sleeping because of how much she has been crying. So clearly she didn't want this. She told me she wasn't sure to drive the 4 hours after she got off of work or go home in the morning. She ended up telling me that she was able to leave work early, so I asked her to call me so I could offer to drive to her home and I would drive her to her mum's so she wasn't driving alone. She came up to the home crying hysterically. I picked us up on dinner and then we took a nap together in our bed, which is now on the floor. After she woke up, we ate dinner and she asked me how my therapy was going because I started going myself since she told me no. She ultimately decided to drive herself home that evening so she could go food shopping for her mum, but she told me she would come back to the home on Sunday. We even kissed goodbye and then texted the rest of the weekend before she returned to the house on Sunday. I'd gone food shopping for her and meal prepped dinner for her work week before she got back on Sunday. Then we went for a walk around our neighborhood holding hands. And when I tried to talk about us, she responded with that she doesn't really want to talk about us with everything else going on. I cooked us dinner. We sat outside on our patio with a bottle of wine, cuddling and kissing each other. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, like, just, I could imagine how confusing this would have been without any knowledge of what was going on. So, Charlie, I am sorry that you've had this because this is fucking confusing. I asked her to spend the night here, and she turned me down, saying she was going to go back, but she wants to see me again the next weekend because we both had time off. As she left, I asked her if we were good, and she said she still has a lot to think about. I continued to text her for a few days and even told her that I made us a dinner reservation at our favorite restaurant for the weekend. But then I was ghosted again before the end of the week. Oh man, Charlie, this is like a death by a thousand cuts. Like at this stage, what has it been? A few weeks and months post breakup, and yet you're still somehow enjoying the same sort of benefits of a romantic relationship without the actual, how do I put it? You're not allowed to have the full thing. Like this is fucked up. This is so bad. I'm sorry that you've gone through this. At this point, it's been over a month since our breakup, and we still haven't had a full talk. Okay, so a month. Every time she came up to the home, I would ask for answers, and she would give me different reasons for our breakup from the last time. Okay, so she doesn't even know what it was. But I know, good old self-sabotage. I asked her to meet me one day, on a day that she had off, and she made it seem like it was an inconvenience for her. I told her we could do another day, but she insisted that she would just make it work. The day before we were supposed to meet, she texted me that she would text me when she is leaving to come to the home, and in a separate message asked me if there was anything of hers left in the home. I didn't answer her message. The next day, she had yet to text me saying she was on her way, so I texted her asking if she was still coming, and she responded with, "You didn't text me back yesterday, so therefore I made plans, and I'm not coming anymore, and you realize that this is the whole reason why we broke up, and you want me to come back, but then still do the same thing." Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of fearful avoidant translation here. So she's basically throwing this onto you, basically saying, this is the reason we broke up is because you make me feel restricted, and then I can't have my own freedom, I suppose, is what she's saying in a nutshell. And I feel like this is such a brutal cop out. Basically, she's being a brat and she's just like, I just couldn't do what I wanted to do in this relationship. It's like you actually could, but you just put yourself in a cage, a cage that was made out of your mind. But Charlie, this is so unfair to you. You're basically, you're asking for the bare minimum. It's like, can we like just interact and be normal? Also, it's not okay that she just ghosts you and makes plans with friends without involving you. Like, far out. God, just the brattiness of this. I asked to call her because I still needed to tell her I needed her to come to the home to sign the refinancing paperwork to get her name off the home, but she responded with, "No, you cannot call me. We are done, Charlie. Get that through your head." Wow. So, okay, so I'm sure everyone can probably see the double standard that's going on here. It's like you, Charlie, are trying to, just look for answers. Meanwhile, she's allowed to cry on your shoulder, have wine with you on the patio, get you to help her with her mum. But God forbid you ask, hey, can we actually have a conversation about why you decided to break this up? Just no. It's your fault. You were trying to basically get me to do more than I wanted to. And it's like, to me, like, none of this makes any rational sense. It's like, she's being very immature and very demanding and controlling. Like, I mean, what a control freak. Anyways, Emma ended up coming to the home the next week to sign the reference paperwork. Afterwards, I found her crying in the garage and I gave her a hug and we both started crying together. Okay, so again, very babyish sort of stuff. Like, I can see her oscillating quite a lot here. I know some people might say possible BPD. I mean, maybe, but like, even so, I just feel like, what a baby. Like, what a lot of arrested development. We talked for almost 4 hours about everything. She still took no accountability and told me once again, because of my lack of communication, my lack of patience, our arguments, that we were arguing too much, we just didn't work, and a ring wasn't going to change that, and now even blame my friendship with Nikki on our breakup, stating that I was more of a best friend to Nikki than I was to her. What the fuck is up with that? To me, she's projecting so much here. She's projecting her fear of abandonment and betrayal on you and Nikki. She's also blaming you for seemingly not being able to feel, I suppose, 100% hunky-dory in this relationship because of the frickin', arguments. But the arguments were over fucking nothing. You were challenging her on the fact that she wasn't showing up to the relationship properly. You were calling her out. I don't feel like that was, I feel like she's, again, making mountains out of molehills. Like, this is ridiculous. We laid on the same lounge couch by the pool together, looking at each other in the eyes, and even told me I have the most beautiful eyelashes. As she left, she took the rest of her belongings, but said she would have to leave the boxes of her family heirlooms and get them another day. All right, so I find it really interesting that she's complimenting your appearance and then also basically blaming you for all of this. It's like she's so conflicted. It's like you clearly want Charlie girl, but you know, your fear of losing your independence and your freedom is just outrageous in this particular moment. So yeah, crazy. A few weeks later, I sent her a Venmo request to pay for half the front door we agreed to replace before we broke up. She denied my request, and I texted her asking that she help me with the door payment since she originally agreed to help me pay for the door. She responded saying she's not paying for the door because the loan isn't in her name. No. And it's not her home anymore. And I was the one who wanted to use the front door anyway. What a bitch. This then resulted in her removing me from all of her social media. No. No. I'm not I'm assuming Charleston was the town in the United States, so I'm assuming you're United States citizens, Americans. But surely there would be laws against that. That's just so fucked up. But I can see again, this is coming from a very emotionally mature place, not a place of yes, she's being entitled, but not in like that grandiose sense. Like she's being exceedingly bratty, and I hope people can see just how arrested her development here is. It's just like, she's really trying to control the access that Charlie has to reaching out. And clearly, anytime, she's feeling threatened about losing her independence and Charlie reaches out, she retaliates and pushes him away really vigorously. But on this case, she's getting really irrational and, basically just saying nonsense to push him away. And it's now technically she's committing a crime. She's technically going against the law if the law protects you. So, yeah, not good. She took all access away from me, knowing what is going on in her life, to the point it feels like I never existed to her at all. Yeah, erasure. It even feels like the life we started creating together never existed at all to her. Nikki even tried reaching out to her multiple times after we broke up to meet up with her because she still considered her a friend. Every time they planned to meet up, Emma always had an excuse as to why she couldn't meet up with her anymore. In December, Nikki and Kelly one night posted a photo on Instagram of them doing a spin class together, and Emma reached out to them upset that she never got an invite. Oh my God. Oh, the double standards. They called her out on basically ignoring them every time they texted her, but then planned to get dinner together one night. Emma then bailed out on dinner as well. So Emma has even removed them from her life as well. Fucking hell. Her arrested development is like, you know, she's like embryo levels of arrested development. Like, my God, has she even progressed through childhood? And the answer is no. Like, I mean, we know that she had a terrible, terrible upbringing. So she hasn't really developed properly. So let's fast forward to January of 2025. She still hasn't come for her family heirlooms, and I decided that it was time for them to go. Good on you. I hope you burn them. I texted her, or better yet, I hope you sold them to make up money for the front door. I texted her and told her she had until the end of the month, otherwise I was throwing them away. She ended up coming to get them, and we talked again for over an hour. I tried asking her what was going on with her mum, to which she said she doesn't want to talk about it. She told me she just wants to be happy and one day thinks that we could be friends. I asked her if she was seeing anyone else, to which she redirected the question to ask me if I was. Great. When I told her no, and she wouldn't tell me if she was, because if she was, I would want to know who and if she wasn't. I wouldn't be trying to get her back. Before she left, we ended up making out multiple times. Okay, just like with what was going on with was it? Yeah, Kelly and Nikki, the best friends, right? It's interesting how she has these like really polarizing sides of I want you, fuck off. I wanted an invite. I know I'm too busy. It's all real. It's all very real for her. Like she does want the connection, the friendship with Nikki and Kelly. She wants to be involved. She still wants you, obviously. Like, I mean, she's fucking making out with you, but she keeps pushing you away at every turn. Charlie, you're like an assault survivor at this stage. I mean, an emotional assault survivor, because fuck me, like I'd be confused, heartbroken, feel like I've gone through like a smoothie blender and just left dazed off the back of all of this. Like, oh God, this is so messed up and all in her, like it's all under her control. Anyways, I am really sorry that you've gone through this because I'm just like, Jesus Christ Almighty. Uh, Anyways, a few weeks later, while talking to one of my coworkers and Emma came up in our conversation. His wife works with Emma, and he told me that they gave her shit at work because her friends liked me more than the new guy she was with. Hmm, interesting. Interesting. So she's moved on to someone else, and it seems like everyone's, on her back about her poor decision making with dating. This whole experience has destroyed me. I'm not surprised. I'm really sorry for you, bro. Like, far out. I want to, like, I just want to sit down with you and validate the fuck out of you. Like, just want to just like, I'm so sorry, man. Like, oh God. It has truly made me feel like I never mattered or even existed in her whole life, even though after breaking up, she's told me multiple times that she would always love me. I've done nothing but sit and shit over our 5 year relationship ending how it did, while she goes out with friends and is going on vacations all over every couple of months. At one time, we both agreed that we were both homebody type of people who preferred to stay at home and spend our days off at our home by the pool with drinks or picking out a show to watch and don't regret missing out on the quote unquote young and going out all the time part of our lives because it was due to me starting my career at 23 and Emma going into medical school at 22. Emma told me she would rather have rather have the settled down life compared to the going out every weekend life in her 20s. Once she met her friends, it seemed like she started to prefer the quote unquote young girl lifestyle. I mean, that could speak to the fact again, going back to that Arrested Development, she never got that particular um, she never had that experience when she was younger, so it's an unmet need. And I think, men, women, non-binary people, we all need stages of development as part of our growth. So that could be a thing. But I think it was also laced with her self-sabotage of needing to push you away due to fear of, closeness, losing your independence, etc. So yeah. I had to clean up several adult responsibilities we had together, such as refinancing the house and removing her from the car insurance while she got to run, not walk away with zero repercussions. That's fucked. I questioned why she would tell her sister and friends that me and her have things to work on, but never once brought it up to me, and then just break up and leave me without giving me the opportunity to make the changes she was looking for. She didn't have real reasons. And also, she's conflict averse. And also, this is just bullshit. Because the thing is, she was looking for ways to get out of this relationship, not because she didn't like you, but because, she was looking for reasons as to why she was feeling the way she's feeling. So, when someone experiences a moment of self-sabotage like this, and I'm very familiar with this because I just went through this recently, not with anyone specifically, but what happens is you start scrambling as to being like, why do I feel so shitty all the time? Like, what the fuck is going on? And it's very easy to point fingers at external things and be like, oh, it's the this, it's the that, it's the thing outside of me, but it's all internal. I can promise you that. And, it's one of those things where, you start coming up with these ideas of like, maybe if I got rid of this, things would be better. Maybe if I stopped doing that, it'll all work out for me internally. And I had, thank God, a friend of mine who lovingly called me out on this and said, I think you're just feeling quite emotional and you should take a step back before you make a rash decision. And I'm so grateful they did that because I nearly blew up something very special to me. Interestingly enough, it was actually this letter reading. I was not yours specifically, Charlie, but I was contemplating getting rid of the Ken Reads because I was going through an experience where I was just so like out of my head. And I actually really enjoy the Ken Reads. Like when everything's working hunky-dory in my life and everything's balanced and I have freedom and I can do whatever I want, I love doing these. But when I self-sabotage and I do silly things, the last thing I want to do sometimes is the very thing that I love. And so, I did have thoughts of maybe I should just get rid of this. And fortunately, I had a close friend of mine who helps me with regards to the business just say to me, just chill, take a step back and really journal on this and see what comes up for you. Luckily, the Ken reads weren't actually the issue. It was me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. So yeah, when you ask like, how could she be, I don't know if you asked it, but I can't remember if you did, but basically this whole thing of like, why would she tell her sister and friends that me and her have things to work on, but never once brought it up with me, and then just break up and leave me without giving me the opportunity to make the changes she was looking for? I know that was a statement, not a question. But if this were a question, I would simply say she was engaging with a lot of self-sabotage. She was someone who's very conflict averse. She didn't really know what the issue was, and it was definitely something going on inside of her because clearly she still really likes you, hence the reason why she's been making out with you and still being very intimate with you physically outside of a romantic relationship. So yeah, she thought the problem was external. It's not. Anyways, after I found your page, it really helped me find some of the answers I was looking for and also discover some of my own dismissive avoidant tendencies when it comes to conflict and communication. But one thing I know for sure is I definitely wanted to marry Emma and spend my life with her. After I found out she already is in another relationship, I feel destroyed all over again, even knowing that a lot of times they will quickly enter into a new relationship. I would just like to hear your insight on my experience and hope that my letter can help someone else that may be experiencing something similar as me watching your videos, like your other videos have helped me. Thank you, Ken. Oh, you're very welcome, Charlie. I've got a mate who actually sounds very similar to you, dismissive leaning, and yeah, it's one of those things where I'm really glad that you actually sent this letter through because it really goes to show that, these cases with the severe avoidant attachers who have this very disordered approach to relationships, they really are their own worst enemy. And they can get with people across different attachment groups. This is probably the first time I can tell there's someone who absolutely leans more dismissive avoidant. And I know because of the way you described the kind of like little setup you like to have of your life, like, glass of wine on the patio, by the pool and just chilling, relaxing at peace. I'm like, no way, that's not my vibe. But I know people like you who have that vibe and it's really quite quaint. So I'm not going to yuck your yum. But the point simply is to say is that I think it's really important having letters like yours because it really helps to give answers to survivors to make sense of their experience. And I think we often think, oh, well, I've had actually a few dismissive avoidants come through who've been blindsided by these experiences and they have actually needed a lot of hand-holding and support through this. So it goes to show that anyone can be affected by this. And it's really very brutal and painful to go through. Anyways, Charlie, thank you for sending me your letter. It's third reading this week. It's been a big week of letter readings, but this was a great one, really great one. But yeah, I hope that the feedback I've given you and the insights I've thrown in have been of assistance. And I'm really sorry that you felt destroyed by this because I would have been just blitzkrieged by this. If you're still feeling that way, you're very welcome to feel that way. If you need to speak to one of my team members to help you process this, by all means, please speak to one of my team members. But yeah, it's brutal. So yeah, I am sorry for you, man. Like just, ugh, yuck, 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 yuck.